So I'm very encouraged. The bill was originally filed in 1983, and here we are many years later, more years than I care to think about, and the bill is finally going to have a hearing tomorrow. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, we're going to have a hearing after 26 years on this bill, and it's going to reach the floor of the House, and it's going to pass. So I think this is great news. We need this so badly. When Bernanke last came to testify, it lit up the Internet when he testified that he had given $500 billion. Think about this. $500 million. $500 billion to foreigners, and he didn't know who got the money.
$500 billion.
$500 billion, which is 500,000 million. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about an enormous, staggering amount of money, almost $2,000 for every single American, and the Federal Reserve handed it out to foreign central banks, and I don't know who they gave it to.
Which, of course, is a complete lie. It actually leaked on the major papers. The French banks, the German banks.
We, the U.S. taxpayers, were financing bailouts to virtually every single big foreign company in the world, but not to our own. Because if you need a bailout here in America, you could go to hell. We set up, the Federal Reserve, in our name as U.S. taxpayers, set up a credit line equal to $3,000 for every single person in New Zealand. In New Zealand, where was our credit line? We had small businesses who couldn't get any loans. We still have small businesses who can't get any loans. We had people losing their homes because they couldn't refinance their mortgages.
Well, clearly,
and the
sir,
Federal
they
Reserve
want
was lending money to people in New Zealand.
Well, clearly, I mean, do you agree that that's the classic banking scam? They make their real profits when people implode. They export the money and then freeze assets and capital here so that the economy on Main Street further folds so they can then come in, the banks flush with cash, buy up banks, insurance companies, and consolidate the economy.
That's exactly right. And it's a horror show for the ordinary American. And what's happened here is that the banks have taken Uncle Sam and made him into Uncle Sap.
Wow.
They've treated us like saps for too long. And this is what this audit is going to expose.
Now, they've hired a bunch of high-powered lobbying firms, as you know, Congressman Grayson. We're talking about.
I know. Yes, as a matter of fact, they hired Enron's lobbyists. And why not? If you're doing Enron accounting, why would you hire Enron's lobbyists? And
well,
this lobbyist issued a statement saying these people who support this bill to audit the Federal Reserve, they don't understand economics. Well, it's a funny thing to say to me because I actually worked for 4 years as an economist before I graduated from law school. She was saying, they don't know the difference between monetarism and fiscal policy and this and the other thing. And here I am, the only member of Congress who actually worked as an economist. And she's this lobbyist, this K Street whore, is trying to teach me about economics. And all of us.
This K Street whore is trying to teach me about economics. Who was that particular K Street whore?
Well, yeah, but you can look it up. The lobbyist who was the head lobbyist for Enron was hired with our taxpayer money to try to fend us off this effort to get transparency at the Federal Reserve. And by the way, you asked for the website. You can go to grayson.house.gov, grayson.house.gov. That's our website, and there'll be a link to the list, and I hope people will go and nominate companies that have cheated the government and need to be debarred from federal contracting so they stop stealing from us.
What is the game plan? How do we make sure we get this audit of the Fed? The Senate, as you know, blocked discussion of the bill brought forward by Senator DeMint. How do we procedurally ensure that the will of the people in the House, now with an override majority in the House, be able to bring this up to a vote and then audit these people?
We need a steady drumbeat in the Senate once we get this bill through the House. We're not there yet, but we are going to be there soon, I think. Before the end of the year, we're going to see a vote on this bill on the floor, and of course it will pass overwhelmingly, maybe even unanimously. And then that will create momentum to try to get this bill through the House. There's already close to 30 sponsors, in the Senate. There's close to 30 sponsors already in the Senate, and we need to keep up a steady drumbeat. Now, when I was going around from person to person on the Democratic side of the House signing people up to co-sponsor this bill, I often heard, oh, yeah, I've had people write to me about that bill many times, but I didn't really understand it. We've got to do the same thing in the Senate. We've got to have people write. We've got to have people meet. You can call up your congressman and you can ask for a meeting with his staff. You can call up your senator and do the same thing. It doesn't even have to be in Washington. It can be where you live. Because wherever you live, there's a district office or a state office. And if you sit down with the staff and say, this matters so much to me because it matters to my future, the future of my children, my grandchildren, I need to tell you about this. I didn't want to just send an email. I wanted to meet with somebody. And if you ask to speak to the staff who's in charge of financial issues, you can make an impression. We had people doing that over and over and over again, and it made my job to sign up co-sponsors among the Democrats much easier. And it's a formula that we've repeated again and again since then.
Sure. Congressman, we've got a break. It's a 3-minute break. Can you come back on the other side and do 5 minutes with us and finish up?
I'm not sure. I'll check. I hope I can. Okay. I'll check right now.
Congressman Alan Grayson is our guest. The lady he was talking about is Linda Robertson. She runs the big lobbying Enron firm. She's the chief lobbyist trying to block the Congress, the American people, from investigating this group. We'll see if the congressman can come back. Stay with us.